All right, welcome back, everybody. This is once again Anthony Ryan Grant, aka Antonio is the Gamer. I'm joined by my friend Tim. Tim, you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Hey everybody, this is Timothy Smith or at Michael Smith if you want to follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter. So today we're basically going to jump into two more topics. So this is round two. We're going to be discussing CyberCon Connect 2's Demon Slayer gameplay and the latest Pokemon 25 celebration.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I definitely wanted to kick things off with the Cyber Connect 2 gameplay being released. People have been putting out their reactions to it, and everybody kind of seems to be on the hype train. Demon Slayer it's probably at its most popular right now. There's been reports about how well the movie's doing in Japan. It's like the most watched movie in Japan of all time, which is nuts. And after seeing CyberConnect 2 show off the gameplay of Demon Slayer, I am very just underwhelmed. And I'm underwhelmed not because it doesn't look good, but I'm underwhelmed in the sense that it looks extremely safe for them. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, it looks similar to Storm 4.
It looks exactly like Storm, right? And the thing that there's a couple of things that like make me underwhelmed. One, I feel like CyberConnect 2 knows their strengths very well, right? We know by far they make some of the best looking anime style games in the market right now. They know this. We know this, right? And whenever you see a CyberConnect 2 announcement, like you're like, we already know it's gonna look good, right? And I feel like, especially towards the end of Storm, and especially with how Kakarot was handled, CyberConnect 2 has not, in my opinion, picked a IP in which they have to take a risk in some time. So, Storm ends, right? Naruto obviously was the thing that kind of put them on the map, right? So then they go over to Kakarot. Dragon Ball is one of the most safe IPs you can invest into as a company ever, right? It don't, and it's not to speak badly about most of the fan base, but it doesn't take a lot to impress Dragon Ball fans. So with Kakarot looking as pretty as it did, it kind of distracts from the fact that, like, yo, that DLC was lacking. The Battle of the Gods DLC, the Fight Against Frieza DLC was lacking. That was gameplay lacking, super repetitive, right? Definitely not what we were all expecting from like an action RPG experience. And I feel like with Demon Slayer, it's like right now Demon Slayer is going ham in Japan, right? Anything that's Demon Slayer related is selling out like crazy. It's doing pretty well over here in America as well, or in the West, as they would say. And here it is. You have one of the most safest go-to developers making another popular IP in the same style of the game that we've been asking them for about 4 years now. Everyone's like, we want another Storm game. Well, here's your Storm game, guys, but with Demon Slayer, which you also love, right? And I as I watch the gameplay videos, I'm like, this just seems very on brand for them and very safe, right? Like, I'm like, what about this doesn't look like standard CyberConnect 2? What about this looks like, yo, they about to try something crazy? Like, are we getting, three different ultimates again? Or we're getting, like, what about what in your opinion, like, what do you feel? And you might not feel the same way as I do, but what do you feel about the gameplay that they've shown that looks unique enough for a Demon Slayer game?
The only thing that unique is just different characters. Like, it's a different characters from a different franchise. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. Like, when I first saw it, like, I shook my head and I also laughed and smiled at the same time because it's very typical of them. And we saw this happen when basically after Storm 2, like Storm 2 was a good, decent upgrade, but then you saw Generations 3, Evolution, and then 4. You basically realize, bro, they don't like to update anything. They just copy and paste it, and then they find a few characters that they gave it for, like, first priority, and that's it. And that's it. So it kind of makes me think, like, all right, with this franchise, especially how long, like, because we still don't know how far they are going to go in terms of storylines, because storyline will determine how many characters we're going to get covered and things of that nature. But it just makes me think, like, all right, once this copy is out, which is going to be more than one, are you going to follow the same copy and paste remedy?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I know like that's not the common thought in the gaming community right now, right? Everyone's very excited, like, oh, it looks so nice and the visuals are always looking good. I'm like, yeah, but this is what they're known for. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like saying that like Mortal Kombat won't have at least some good fatalities, right? Like, you know what you're buying into at this point. Like, we know CyberConnect 2 is going to make a good visual experience. Like the other day I was rewatching some cutscenes from Asura's Wrath, right? That they made for PS3. That game looks beautiful. It is a beautiful looking game. But then I remembered playing it and being like, this gameplay is horrible. It's a button masher. And I'm like, at what point do we allow, like, who is the game developers that we allow to take another crack at an anime franchise other than CyberConnect 2? Like, they run, like the arena fighters when it comes to anime
Yeah.
game.
Okay, arena fighters. Well,
Yes.
we definitely know one company who can do it.
Yeah.
And Arc System Works, of
Right.
course. Because they've done Guilty Gear, they've done Blaze Blue, they've done Dragon Ball Z, and then they've done the Under Night series as well, which is a personal favorite of mine. So
Mhm.
I do feel they are another company that could actually take a good crack. Like, yes, sometimes like it may not be as in depth as an arena fighter, but
Mhm.
I feel like they will give you a solid action experience.
Right. Right.
Now, then this is where it comes like, all right, in terms of arena fighters, they're more cinematic in
Mhm.
terms of when you do special moves, and I get it. That's something people want more to see. Like in terms of
More of
like
the fan service.
yeah, but
Mhm.
then now you've seen Arc System Works do the more cinematic experience in terms of Dragon Ball Fighter Z, like in terms of dramatic finishes, certain supers. So you could tell, like, yes, they are experimenting in that realm of things. So they could also do it as well.
Mhm. I would actually argue, like, if they would experiment more. I don't know, I can't remember the name of the developers off the top of my head, but I like idealistically what they've done with the My Hero fighters. Like,
Okay. I personally didn't like that game, but continue.
well, when I say, like, I didn't play it either, right? But I'm like, in terms of what I've seen, I'm like, I feel like they are at least trying something different, right? With the arena fighters when it comes to anime fighter. Like, it's not just about like the flashiest looking combo or whatever. Like, there's actual depth to like the move set of like certain moves, counter certain things. Like, there's like the idea of having a quirk literally changes the gameplay style for certain characters. I'm like, I like that. It
Mhm.
just doesn't look the greatest, and like the characters are very floaty. And it's just, like, there's a lot of things that obviously need more polish. But I'm like, I don't see that from CyberConnect 2. I'm like, yeah, they show all these characters, right? The combos look familiar. They look nice, right? The ultimates are beautiful to look at, but it just looks like business as usual, And I'm like, I want to know what is going to be the thing that puts like the creative battery back in CyberConnect 2's back, where it's like, yo, y'all got to prove yourselves again, like.
Sales,
But, they,
sales.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, the thing about this Demon Slayer game, the thing that like upsets me is like, it's gonna sell. It's Demon Slayer. It's
Hmm.
gonna sell. It doesn't matter how it plays. It could have a 15 character roster and it's gonna fly off the shelf. You know. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's
Well, you remember what happened when they left out the Kages of, like, I believe it was like Storm 3, and then they released them as DLC later. No, what
no,
was
they
that?
left them completely out of Storm 3 and then put them in Revolutions.
Yes, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, like, I do feel like they learn they learned from that business practice, because people was ready to riot, bro.
Mm,
Really ready to riot, because they do realize that like it's their money is what will correct them. So, like, yes, the first one they're gonna just play it safe, and then they're gonna just like release the product. But I do feel like whatever reception that we get from like that one is
hmm
determine how the next one will go.
Okay. I mean, I hope so, because I feel like, even now, like, granted, we're still kind of playing catch up, but they did the whole Dragon Ball Battle Hour, as of yesterday of this recording, and they announced how they're doing like the history of Trunks, right, for Kakarot as like the last DLC, and people are hyped. I'm like, all right, History of Trunks, it's a great special. But I'm like, the way they have been handling the DLC for Kakarot has not been good. Like, do y'all forget so quickly? Like, are you serious? The Xenoverse, DLC announcements look better visual, like in terms of like what's happening than Kakarot did. I'm like, how? Like, what? Like, why are so many fans like so easily pleased sometimes? Like I'm like, I've seen better updates to like Dokkan Battle, which is a mobile game, but
Well,
then in Kakarot.
first off, bro, like, I hated Kakarot from the beginning because
I
I feel
remember.
first off, bro, I believe, like, you mean at 2021, your biggest selling point is from the Saiyan Saga to Buu Saga.
I remember. You
That
were
is your,
not a fan at no point. You were never won over.
we from the Budokai era all the way up, bro. We've lived that storyline more ways. We know that story from the back of our head. Like,
Hmm.
that is not a selling point for us anymore. Like, I like what even though it kind of flopped in the sense of I saw what Art System Works was trying to do. I mean, at least we got one good character out of it that we would like to see again, which is Android 21.
Hmm.
But yeah, but the story flopped. But at least they tried to develop something actually new.
Right.
Not everybody could pull off a Shin Budokai.
True. But it lets you know it's possible. Like it lets you know, like, yo, there's stories to be told in Dragon Ball that can still be interesting. You don't have to like, like even if they had done like even if CyberConnect had done more with the what ifs in Kakarot, like you're like remember they're like, oh, you have all these interactions that you would never see in the story before. It's like if you had just done more with that, I would have been cool story wise. But it wasn't even that. It was like, oh yeah, like Gohan has a conversation with 16, and then it gets right back to the story we've seen a million times. It's like, okay, like I don't know. So I don't know. I want to come. I don't want to come across to people as like a CyberConnect 2 hater. Obviously, I've been a very big fan of their games, especially during the PS2 era.
Yeah.
But I just think that again, like the idea of monopolies, right? Where it's like if one company has something in a stranglehold, there's no reason for them to push themselves. They can play it safe. People are still gonna buy it. They'll still make their money, and everyone is happy or at least satisfied. So I'm hoping that, like you said, like if Demon Slayer doesn't do what they expected to do, it'll be like, all right, we got to try again. We got to like look at ways to like be innovative again. But that was all I had to say about that game.
Yeah, and I still have to do more research on, in terms of where they are in development and things of that nature. And then also with me, I'm still watching the show because
hmm,
it was a show that I picked up recently. So I'm still like, trying to get up to speed.
it's a great show. It's worth all the hype for sure. Like I finished season 1. I started reading the manga. I can see why people enjoy the series. I just, the idea of taking one of the biggest anime fighting game developers with one of the biggest franchises, it's like, all right, might as well write that blank check to the bank because it's gonna do well no matter what they do. So
That's very true.
that's just my little gripe. But now on to playing it safe or not playing it safe, right? Or we don't know what to expect. We are now talking about the Pokemon 25, and all the announcements that were released back to back to back. And I know, Tim, you kept more up to date with some of the things that they've announced with this Pokemon in general than I have. So I'll let
Mhm.
you kick this off. What were your thoughts on them celebrating 25 years of Pokemon history?
Oh, well, first off, the Pokemon Snap for the Switch actually looks pretty dope.
Hmm.
It brought back a lot of fun memories from the first one because I remember playing that game as a kid, trying to capture like the certain Pokemon. Like, let's just say if you hit like an Articuno egg in the water, Articuno would just like erupt from the egg and fly out. So that brought back a lot of nostalgia moments. The two big announcements, which was the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I was really looking forward to those, and I'm glad that we finally got that closure because technically they are the last ones that need to be remade.
Hmm.
Because especially how they did Black and White, like what they did with Black and White 2 instead of basically Pokemon Gray. Um, I don't want to see another Black and White remake ever.
Okay.
And of course, like I feel like the only one that deserves another revisit is X and Y, which was Pokemon Z that we never got.
Hmm.
But they took basically Zygarde, they put him in Alola, which was Sun and Moon, and then they did Ultra Sun and Moon, which again don't need to be remade.
Hmm.
So I do feel like, all right, Diamond and Pearl was the last ones that we need to touch base back on again. And even in terms of just Diamond and Pearl, like I'm thinking about like, all right, so now it's a remake, but it's in the Let Go style. So like it's Let Go Sinnoh.
Hmm.
So looking forward to the return of two things. Either primal reversions, which is basically like the souped up versions of legendary Pokemon, and mega
Hmm.
evolutions, because we were all very disappointed, the way of like where Sword and Shield went, like, oh, you just get giant Pokemon.
All right. Godzilla style Pokemon.
Like I was like, oh, like, and especially like with this Let Go style, you could tell that's not coming.
Hmm.
That's not coming at all.
Did you like I saw a lot of like back and forth debate. Did you like the fact that they're still doing top down for the Diamond and Pearl remakes? Would you have preferred more of a Sword and Shield take on those?
I personally would have preferred a Sword and Shield take, because, like I said, we've been trying to say like, no, bro, like, come on, take this real open world serious, bro. Like, you've been playing it safe for so many years, man. It's time to
Mm-hmm.
really give us an actual town, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or even when we go to like Celadon City, why is Celadon City only like 6 buildings, bro? It's a city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's the transit system? Where are the people on like walking through the streets? Like, we need more.
Right, right, right.
I mean, but when we saw the other announcement, which was Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is based off the Sword and Shield side, I felt some relief about it, because it's gonna go dive deeper into the mythology of Arceus, because here in the West we didn't get the DLC mystery gift that Japan got with Arceus. We've always heard the legends that he's basically the god of all Pokemon. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe this game will really explore those mythologies of his influence, or call it he, whatever, but its influence on the world, the Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
world, so to speak.
Okay. I mean, from my end, I've always been, especially as I've gotten older, more of a casual Pokemon fan. Like I still enjoy it. It was definitely a beloved franchise for me as a child. And as I got older, I think, and we talked about this, I think it's more of the stagnation of the series that kind of drove me away bit by bit, more so than like the idea. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
I still think like, when you kind of convinced me to, look into playing X and Y, or look into playing, what was it that you got me to play?
Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah, yeah, Sapphire. The remakes. Like I thoroughly enjoyed those games. Like I was like, this was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of allowed me to appreciate how far Pokemon had came. Although it still did kind of seem formulaic, and I felt like I found myself getting burned out again when I played Ultra Moon. I was like, like I think they it's interesting because I feel like, with the whole Pokemon 25, I think we are still seeing, a company that is very in tune to what fans want in terms of like content wise, right? In terms of like, we're gonna go into the legends of the Pokemon, right? And like I think that's something that like fans have wanted for some time. Or, you've been asking for a Diamond and Pearl remake, we're making a Diamond and Pearl remake. I think that shows that they're listening. You know, I do think though that like I've also still seen a lot of things that you've been saying where it's like the the follow through, right? In terms of like the depth of that content seems to be lacking. Like there's in a lot of ways from what I've seen, video wise, there's a lot more reason to think that Pokemon Snap will be the go-to Pokemon game of the year than these other Pokemon announcements, which is weird. Like I feel like that would be the thing where like, man, they really got it, with that. And it's just like, what does that say about, Nintendo and their, relying on the reliable go-tos. They're kind of like stuck in the mud of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. And, probably Game Freak's burnout. right? You know, like we've talked about that to some degree where I'm like, there's a lot of evidence that would hint that Game Freak is tired of making these games. You
Oh,
know?
Sword and Shield was a prime example because I'm glad that they finally went the DLC route because as you can see, this game did not get any sequels. It
Mm-hmm.
got DLC packs. The first one was basically a whatever, like post game after the championship, get this legendary Pokemon, fight the old champion of the region. And then the last one was just basically, all right, we'll just give you another area, another wild area where you could capture like all the legendary Pokemon, so you don't have to do the Pokemon Bank app thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That basically was it. I'm like, oh, thank you for playing. And I just kind of felt that, we've even said these all the time, like, when we share the little pictures that we find like on Instagram. And I remember there was one picture where like a person drew like a person on top of their Arcanine going through like this big meadow. Is like, this is what we thought we were going to get with Sword and Shield versus what we actually got.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like, they're still like, because fans want that. Because I genuinely feel like, fans, especially of our era, who have played massive open world games would love that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is where it should go in the future. And like in terms of burnout, yes, they're getting burnout in terms of designs.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever since like because the biggest Pokemon game we've ever gotten was Gen 5. Gen 5 had so many Pokemon, bro. I was like, it was like almost a double Pokedex.
Mm-hmm.
But like you started to see from Gen 6, especially 7, and definitely 8, that the numbers are dwindling, bro. Like they're just banking off like, oh yeah, these Pokemon from other regions are here too.
Right. And different colors and slightly different tweaks and
And then now I starting to feel like even like regional forms is starting to like go down now because it's like, all right, this last one I was like, wait, that's it, that's all we got.
mm. Do you feel like, because I guess for me, I think going back to me kind of being reintroduced to the games specifically, I think what kind of drew me in was the gameplay elements. Like I told you, like like I even text you, I was like, the idea of these like mega evolutions is fire to me. I was like, I can't get enough of like, oh man, like, who else got a mega form? I even still, even though I haven't finished Ultra Moon, like the idea of having Z moves, I thought was really cool. And I wonder if now, if Game Freak was to focus more on those gameplay elements, right? Like you said, like really just focusing on bringing these worlds to life and having a real city and having a real, like open world structure. Do you feel like that would be enough to compensate for the lack of new Pokemon? Like, do you feel like new Pokemon has to be part of the draw for the franchise at this point?
Yes, they do. Because
Really?
first off, for me, I'm still irritated at the fact that we have not finished this EV line of all types.
Mm,
That for me, and then of course, the whole theory of Pokemon and the fire type Chinese zodiac.
mm,
I'm just ready for that to be complete, bro. Because apparently we still got 4 more.
mm,
So like I did, yes, Pokemon, yes, new Pokemon, yes. Existing gameplay mechanics, yes. I feel like it's both. Because I honestly I do miss Mega Evolutions because it was a gimmick. I'm glad they weren't permanent, but it was just basically like a power up.
mm.
Power up. And Z moves were cool. They were basically like Pokemon super moves.
Yeah, yeah.
Um and maybe like they what the way that they probably could have expanded it in the future, maybe like there's a generic super move for every Pokemon, with a specific type. Or maybe like like how they gave certain Pokemon their own special move. Like maybe it's like a secret hidden move that's unlocked after a certain amount of HP is lost or something of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. And then maybe add some more elemental like aspects into the gameplay because you enter this whole fairy type in, fairies versus dragons and all that other stuff. But then there's still more deeper things that you've could have done with what you already have. But no, they just always want to add on a gimmick. And then, like I said, with this latest one with giant Pokemon, I felt that was the most boring thing ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because even with them when they did go into like Gigantamax modes, like you kind of brought Z moves back, but they were just so lackluster. Like, oh, Max Rockfall. Oh, a big piece of rock falls on
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. I think going off what you said, I think for me it would be like a doubling down, like you said, on gameplay elements, right? Like because I think about when the idea of tag battles was introduced, right, where it's like 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and it's like that's really cool. Where did that go? Like how do like are there tag team moves, right? Where it's like if could there have been an option where like if you pick a Pikachu and a Squirtle, can they combine for a more powerful, like electric water-based attack? Where was that? Never got it. Like it's just kind of like, it's again like these gimmicky ideas that are really more or less good, right? Like again, I didn't like Gigantamax either, but it's like you have these ideas where it's like if you had fleshed them out a bit more, they could have really changed the game, in a lot of interesting ways. And it's like they don't never really expand on them, like I kind of feel like the idea of them switching the formula would be their best bet, right? Of like the idea of like having to collect 8 badges, the idea of like the protagonist essentially just kind of being a generic, avatar, right? Like maybe if they have more of a story, where it's like, dang, like why do we keep getting born into these like single parent households, in these Pokemon stories? Like, what's going on?
And personally, I feel like it's time to just like, all right, if you're gonna go the gym leaders route, why not? Like, and they kind of hinted this in Sword and Shield because they said they have two gym leagues, a minor one and a major one. So you're
Hmm.
basically telling us, all right, so you have gym leaders for every type.
Hmm.
And you took out Elite Four, you just picked a champion. I mean, I still miss the Elite Four. I feel like that was a great concept. Or maybe Elite Four just could be like all mixed Pokemon.
Hmm.
Or like, maybe like they're like dual type, leaders, like, grass and ghost, or maybe dark and psychic, or maybe dragon and fairy, or things of that nature. But I do feel like, just like switch up the gameplay elements a bit. And then, like I said, I miss like the Pokemon Coliseum style.
Hmm.
Because to be honest, bro, people would say, bro, that was one of the most hardest games back in the day. Like if you didn't come prepared for certain moves, for certain fights, bro, you would just get swamped.
Hmm.
Like even like the final bosses of that game were like a challenge. And I do feel like that aspect needs to be brought back,
Hmm.
so
Do
to
you,
speak.
do you feel like ultimately, from what you've seen, with all the 25-year anniversary announcement, do you feel like the next 5 years, right, leading to the 30th anniversary, do you feel like the next 5 years of Pokemon looks good? Do you feel like it looks bad? Do you feel like it's playing it still safe this far in?
It's playing it safe but in a weird limbo like way,
Mm-hmm.
because of like I said, like I personally feel Sword and Shield were very disappointing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're going to be moving on to another region, and then of course the anime right now is just pointless. It's just a pointless mess. I mean, the animation looks good, but it's just a pointless mess. It's just that, all right, and then with these last remakes that are technically the last ones that we actually need,
Mm-hmm.
where is the story going to go in terms of region design? Because the last one, a lot of people were disappointed. Like you got a region that's based off the UK, and when you look at the UK in the real world, it's four kingdoms. That's why
Mm-hmm.
it's called United Kingdom. We barely got anything that resembles of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, there should have been better wilderness. They should have been a more metropolitan areas. They should have just, there were just so many aspects of more that you could have had. And then the people were thought maybe, oh, maybe there could be a post game in Kalos, because technically they've been hinting about there was this Pokemon war that happened many years ago, and it was from a neighboring region. And then, of course, France and the UK are like right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, because, the first few regions were all based off like certain areas of Japan and things of that nature. But then I'm looking for like, and then Gen 5 was based off New York. But then I'm looking forward to like, all right, let's do an India region. Let's do a region that's based off South America, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
or Africa, or even Australia. Like give us a region where you got to do some real field work so that these designs of these cities and stuff like that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that would also boost up, like, what type of Pokemon designs that we get. Because, there's plenty artists out there who've been doing like regions based off like Egypt, places based off like, Canada, or like even Australia, for example, like a fire kangaroo Pokemon, which I hope is not firefighting.
I mean,
So like there's a lot of things that they could do, but it's just like I said, they're in this weird limbo of playing it safe and starting to wear down.
Mm,
So I do hope that with Sword and Shield that they recognize, bro, all right, we gotta switch up. It's time for us to go. And I do hope that, they continue to invest in Pokemon Bank, of where like make Pokemon Bank, like make like a digital copy of the Pokemon that you've captured. So that way, when you get the new version, you could just send that digital copy over.
mm,
So that way, like, yes, I can fill up my Pokedex that way. Yes, I got all the other ones from the other regions. So let me just focus on who I need to capture in this one and build those people up. And
mm.
of course, when we go online, then I can integrate all who I have.
Right.
Because I do feel like maybe Pokemon online plays a future that could go, like in terms of esports, like we have yet to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who is the best trainer? Who is the best this? Who is the best that? Like, I do feel like that could also bring a new era of fighting games, because technically it is. It has a fighting game aspect. It has RPG elements into it as well. Like, oh, I'm about to hit you with this Ultra Necrozma, my nigga.
Right, right. No, yeah, I think those are good ideas. I guess it just, I when talking about, Pokemon specifically, right? I think they're kind of at a weird space now where it's like they've always had to essentially cater to kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like when you hit a 25-year mark, it's like clearly those kids are grown. Like even if somebody was 5 when Pokemon came out, they're 30 years old now,
Yes.
So it's like at what point do you embrace, like fully embrace that demographic of fans, like where do you draw the line of like, yeah, you're still gonna want to contribute to kids, right? The kids are really the ones that are buying the plushies and buying the toys and grabbing the Pikachu in all forms, right? And it's important, but like at what point do you like, all right, do you acknowledge like, yo, we got adults who are also putting on this switch to play Call of Duty as grown adults or whatever it may be? How do we cater to them as well, that still fits us?
Yeah. Because, like, for example, that's why I feel like what Pokemon, the new Pokemon Snap is doing, like, that could be something that's generated towards kids, like, or especially like the kids of this now social media era. Because that's what it's specifically for. Because, like, bro, we see Twitter all the time, PS4 share,
Mm-hmm.
and bro, people are going ham on these edits.
Right.
Like, and I do feel like, that's a good, crossway path for people of that nature. But I do feel like, Pokemon needs a more updated, more mature tone. And
Mm-hmm.
like, it goes back to what I said about Coliseum and Gale of Darkness. I feel like those games were trying to go in that direction, but then, they just kind of just came back to what they've originally done.
Right.
So,
I don't think Pokemon ever has to necessarily go the dark route, right? I don't think it ever has to be like, like I feel like a lot of companies make the mistake of like it has to be dark and gritty to be more adult. I'm like, you could, again, like you still acknowledge like a more grown fan base of like,
mhm.
again, what are the realities of having your protagonist being in a single parent household? Like, why is the dad always away on business? Like, what, can we
Or
have like a,
never go to school.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, right. Like, why
how
are
is
they
a
never in
12-year-old able,
class?
how is a how is a 12-year-old able just to travel the world?
Right. With no adult supervision whatsoever. What would happen if an adult decided they want to be a Pokemon trainer? Like what does it look like from that lens, right? Somebody
Mhm.
like I don't know, like I mean, I would be interested in seeing that, right? Like an adult who's like steps away from whatever they do in Pokemon land for jobs, apparently, and was like, I want to be a Pokemon trainer.
Mhm.
I don't know. But I feel like, from what I've seen, and like again, like I think, ultimately it's good that we still see that the air is open, like they're still listening. I just think 25 years in, you know, it might be time to just change some things, try some new things, you know, experiment some more.
Yes,
Pokemon again it's a guaranteed check. It's not going away. You know,
that's
like
very
you
true.
said, the anime's outlived its usefulness, but still puts up numbers every week. So, you know,
I don't get my numbers no more, bro. Like I said, because like I tried to watch one of those episodes, and then I keep telling you about this new kid that he's traveling with. This dude catching legendaries, like they're like basic ass Weedles out there. I was like, is this what we've become?
I mean, that we've talked about that too. You know, the stagnation of having, you know, Ash as basically the forever protagonist is like it's gonna lead to more foolishness like that, you know. At what point do we acknowledge that like you need to just kind of retire him from the series so these things can make sense again? But that's another topic for another time. But all right, you know, again, you know, this was our again. Thank you for anybody who watched this show. You know, we'd love to know your guys' thoughts about what you think. You know, how do you guys feel about the Pokemon anniversary? Do you feel like Cyber Connect 2 is stagnating at all? Do you feel like they're, you know, they just keep knocking home runs out the park? You know, is there in between? Let us know. Once again, it's Antonius the Gamer, joined by my friend Tim, and you know, thank you guys for joining another episode of the Gamers Discussion.
See you next time.